Is Janet from another planet? 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 Is Janet from another planet?
The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to After Hours. And tonight, I was lucky enough to get just another red shirt to join me, and I think it's awesome. But I just want to say thank you for him joining me this evening. So how are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. And I'm pleased to be here.
Well, thank you for joining me.
Serious discussion.
I was going to say, because this is not a fun thing to talk about, and it's sad that we live in a country as wonderful as America, and we have this kind of stuff going on. This sounds like stuff that goes on in other countries, not in America.
Can we talk about Deadpool and Wolverine instead?
I know, wouldn't it be better? It'd be way more fun, but it's really sad because this kind of stuff really does affect us, even though I don't live in that state. The money that's been spent sooner or later is going to affect me because I don't know if we're going to end up having to bail them out or how we're going to make up the millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in fraud, how to get the money back. Because I think it's going to be pretty hard to get it from any of these people because, I'm sure they spin it and put it in offshore accounts and who knows where it's went. And that's the sad truth, is that there's not really much we can do besides hold these people accountable, take them to jail or court or whatever we have to do, but try to stop other people from wanting to get away with stuff like this. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But I found a few articles, I thought, in a couple videos that we could share. I'll share one and then we'll talk about it and what we think we can do about it, or if there is anything we can do. Some of it's going to be about Minnesota, and then some of it's going to be about the stuff that's slowly coming out about the election fraud that was happening in multiple states. But little by little, it seems like the truth and the facts are finally getting laid out. And that's if people want to, listen to it or pay attention or whatever. But, we can't force people to believe it. All we can do is share the information, and hopefully people understand when they do start taking people to court and stuff, that they understand why, understand why it makes a difference. Because why are people going to go line up to vote if they think that it doesn't matter? And I hear so many people say, well, it doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count anyways. And that's heartbreaking to me, for someone like me that's an Air Force brat that believes that all those people that laid their lives down deserve for you to go to the polls and vote. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm really strong about that. So is anything you want to add before I pull up the first thing?
Um, we're buried in fraud. This just comes out every day. And I think one of the dangers is that people get inured to it in the sense that they get numb, that you just don't recognize the scale. And we're starting to see numbers that are big enough that it doesn't have any real world point of view for people. You can't imagine this much money in one place, really. And there's a danger to that, because it then it essentially reduces the push to get this to change if people can't really understand how bad things have gotten.
100%. And that's why I think it's important that we put this through court and let people see it live. I really, hopefully they'll let a lot of this stuff be live, so people can, clue in on it. Remember way back when I think it was the O.J. Simpson trial, because we had a show on TV. It was called Court TV, a channel where people could actually go and watch live court and see how it worked and how things laid out in court with the defense. And then you had the prosecuting attorney, all that different stuff. And it seemed like more people were interested in the law and how it worked. Today, it seems like all people do is bitch and moan about it, but nobody wants to serve jury duty. Nobody wants to be involved or really know anything about it. And then when it does come in the news, they say, it's all rigged. Nobody wants to believe it in anything. And that's why I'm hoping the transparency that I've seen so far with this administration pushing that type of stuff, that it will help people realize that, there can be justice and there can be truth, and that innocent people, hopefully fewer and fewer innocent people are punished for something that guilty people should be punished for. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people are feeling really bad about lately, is the fact that it seems like the guilty get away with everything and the innocent ones are the ones that suffer. And that's why I'm hoping that we will start seeing some of this unfolding in the courts, and get more and more people to start believing that we can make a difference if enough people get together, just like what happened with Bud Light, because I really do believe it. And that was a great example. When they started trying to push an agenda down our throat, we just said F you, and we didn't buy their products. And if enough of us don't fall for it, they just give up, because they realize, hey, we're losing our shorts. We can't afford it. So if we can just stick together and try to hold up the law, I think we will prevail. But here you go. I'm going to bring up this first story that I found. I thought was really, really good. So I think it's this one. MAGA Storm. That's the one right here. Yeah, this is the first one. Because this is an article that came across my timeline, and it says former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann just exposed what she calls Minnesota's dirty secret. Democrats allegedly inflate state budgets so they can funnel the extra cash into NGOs grants for their allies, for their pals or whatever. So basically that's what she's going to talk about. But I'm going to share this link in the chat too, so anyone can go and look it up and see if there's anything else on MAGA Storm's website that they are, might want to read or whatever with other things pertaining to this whole mess that's going on. But I wanted to share this first because I thought it was pretty important, but let me make it a little bigger here. Here we go.
Minnesota provides a stunning example of how states are failing to properly ensure the appropriate use of taxpayer dollars spent on Medicaid managed care. This is something we are not proud of. Here's the dirty secret that people don't understand about Minnesota. Progressive lawmakers have been inflating Minnesota's budget so they can create grants to fund nonprofits that ultimately are for their friends, for their supporters, for their constituent groups. So our state budget is a pass-through entity. It's a financial funnel that goes from federal money, state money to local money, but it goes through nonprofits. So friends of the progressives in Minnesota, who for decades have run this state, they create a nonprofit, they register it with the Minnesota Secretary of State, and then all of a sudden they can receive funding. A lot of these jobs are no-work jobs. So we are now not just fraud, but we're an intentional scam that's been going on for decades and decades in Minnesota. And
Okay, that is what I wanted to share. And what's sad about the whole thing is that the fact that this is happening, for one, but the fact that it's been going on for so long and everyone's oblivious, or they just turn and look the other way because they don't want to deal with being the one person that started spilling the beans. You know, what will happen to me? What will happen to my house? You remember when during the OJ trial, a lot of people were saying that that when they were going to be on the jury for him being sued after the court case, and he supposedly they found him not guilty, right? And then they did the civil suit. And then I remember a bunch of interviews with people that were taken off the jury or didn't want to be on the jury, saying that they were worried their house would get burned down, or they'd lose their job, or they'd be a racist, or any of these things, that they were fighting to not be on a jury or to be in a trial because they didn't want to be involved because of what happened, you know, after the Rodney King verdict. Remember that? When they were pulling people out of their cars and beating them with bricks. It was just really scary. And I feel horrible for these people in Minnesota with all the stuff that I'm seeing right now with ICE and everything that's going on. And that has nothing to do with the fraud. That is simply people standing outside and doxing ICE agents because they're taking illegal criminals out of our country. I mean, none of that makes any sense.
No, but it does speak to the reason why people won't come forward. Because what we're seeing going on with ICE could go on with you if you decide to become a whistleblower. And Walz has fired whistleblowers. Governor Walz has fired whistleblowers. And when you can call up a rental mob anytime you want, the stakes get a lot higher. Mm-hmm. And let's be really clear on something just for everybody's benefit. There's two things going on here. There's fraud, where you promise to do something or you specify the amount that was spent, and then you overcharge it or you get paid for something you didn't do. That's fraud. Mm-hmm. This is an institutional scam in that it's essentially the way the state's being run by the politicians in the state. And what they want to do is take their surplus budget. They're not going to claim it's for this. They're playing sleight of hand with the accounting. They want to give it to nonprofits and NGOs and then let them decide what to do with it. Well, they know where their bread is buttered. This is where they get their money. So that is actually a corruption of government. So there's two different things going on here. There's fraud and there's corruption. And the first thing you think of is, how do you get this much fraud and not notice it? And it's the corruption that enables the fraud, is basically my take.
100%. Well, that's the same thing. I mean, if you think about it, in all the different areas of crime, you know, with drug dealers, with trafficking, people that are running guns, burglars, all these different things that interconnect in the underworld of every city, right? Every city has different levels of crime, and there's corruption going on. You have police departments that have somebody that's crooked in there, whatever they can do to put more money in their bank account and say, well, I'll look the other way today and I'll give you a ticket because they gave money or they gave them sexual favors or whatever it was. You're seeing more and more of it. But it seems like as time has gone by, the people like the mayors, the sheriffs, and things like that, turning a blind eye more and more to the politicians. Like all these interviews you're seeing now are videos coming out showing, let's say a sheriff got pulled over in another county next to his, drinking and speeding. And he's arguing with the police officer that pulled him over, saying, "Don't you know who I am?" They get cocky. It's like we have more and more narcissists that are in these positions, and they just think that they're better than everyone. They look down the nose at everyone, and that's either intimidates people into not wanting to say anything because they're worried what could happen to them, or they're worried they'll lose their job, because it seems like the media goes along with all these people that are in the offices instead of the people giving us the information. Right. And I think that all falls back to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act that Obama signed into law, to where we can't sue. We can't sue the media or anything, and they're allowed to say things that are inflammatory and things that aren't true, that aren't factual. And as you're seeing, if you watch any White House press thing, they're all in there. Half of them in there are saying crap they know is not true, and you have to argue with them. The people that are up there on the podium have to argue with the people supposedly asking questions, but they're not even really asking questions. They're trying to twist them up. And lie, and they get caught in it. But I don't understand why they have to even let those people in there. I think they should only let people in that ask legitimate questions, or tell them, forget it. We don't have to let you in here. We don't have to give you a press pass because you're not actual journalist, whatever. And that's why
there haven't
stuff.
There haven't been actual journalists in a very long time. Basically, this is something I've read from a lawyer who said that one of the things that's asked of the Columbia Journalism School is, why do you want to become a journalist? And according to the data that they managed to extract from the Columbia School of Journalism, 90% or so of the answers were to make the world a better place. Not to tell the truth, not to keep people informed, to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Well, J School graduates all tend to share one philosophical worldview and one political affiliation. What makes the world a better place? Putting progressives in charge makes the world a better place. So now you have now you do not need a media conspiracy, you have media lockstep. And that's why you see the press pool behaving the way they do. They're all Columbia graduates. And they're all there to speak speak truth to power, because they only speak truth to power when it's a Republican, when it's not a progressive Democrat.
Yeah.
And liberals have found this out, that they can run afoul of the J School types if they're insufficiently progressive, because there's no coming back from that. There's no way of redeeming yourself. There's no forgiveness, and it's opened a few eyes to what's really going on that otherwise wouldn't have been. They just sort of accepted it as real, and it's sort of until it happens to you. and then it doesn't seem so real anymore. So we have a media in Minnesota that
Mhm.
believes that the progressives that run Minnesota make the world a better place. And you're not going to interfere with them if they want to get a little bit on the side and increase the budget a bit, because all they're doing with that money is helping people. After all, that's why they do it. And this is this is one hand washing the other one, and everybody pretending that the world's getting, that things are getting better when
Mhm.
they demonstrably are not. And the reason they're not is because basically they're getting federal funding to backstop these programs. And that's
Mhm.
where you and I come in. That's where we're going to wind up on the hook for this, is that
Mhm.
when you have Medicaid, the state provides some of the funding and the federal government provides the other part of the funding.
Yep.
So they are basically siphoning money out of the federal government in order to essentially pad their own pockets and then reward their supporters.
Yeah, I remember when Doge first started to come out, okay, and you saw the young men and women around that big table, and they were all like talking about like what they found in Social Security fraud and what they found in the different aspects of government where they were finding fraud. With the NGOs and with money going for a gay comic book to Africa, just all these wastes of money, millions and millions, not hundreds of dollars, millions and millions of dollars, and how pissed off people were. And I said, how can you be mad that they're finding fraud in Social Security? One day you're going to want Social Security. You've paid in for it. Why shouldn't you get some money back for it? And knowing people were taking money, they were 220 years old. Somebody was cashing that check every month. You see, that
Yes.
person should be in jail. They knowingly cashed a check or took money knowing that they were not the person who the money should be going to. So we
Yes.
got to start prosecuting these people, because just think about it. I watched a video, I guess it was last week. It was a young woman, and she was talking about both her parents had died. Okay. And I think it was from an accident or something. But the thing is, she talked about over their time since they started working as teenagers, paying in, that they had made, a whole gobs of money, or $300,000 or $400,000, okay, and that they should get paid a certain amount of money each month, because of the money that they put in when they were old enough to retire. But none of that money is going to go to them because they both died. So where's all the money? Okay, for all the people that worked 50 years or more, put money in, and then they couldn't get it anymore because something happened to them. They passed away. And I know that when you're married, that if your wife stays home or whatever and you work and then you pass away before she does, okay, that she can take your check and not collect her Social Security, because she can take the one that's where she's going to get more money each month, right? But that's still
Right.
another person cut off. The money that she would have gotten for her small amount of work, because she worked less because she was a housewife, she would get less money, but that money's still gone now. See what I mean?
Yep.
So all that money, if you think about it, a person that's just come over the border is making like $3,000 something a month with benefits that they're getting that they didn't put in for, yet you're getting $1,500 a month if you get that. You see what I mean?
Right.
So they're getting
Yes.
like
It's
2 times as much.
yeah. Social Security, though, when you say where does the money, what does the money go to? It goes to
Mhm.
pay someone else.
Mhm.
If a banker set up a scheme like Social Security, it was once described to me, they'd be
Mhm.
arrested for creating a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, that's basically what
Basic,
it is.
Basically, you have early investors, the older recipients, being
Mhm.
paid profits, Social Security benefits, by new investors and the people who are working. there's a little bit of something I found out a while back that I thought was very interesting, given that this was, I thought this can't be as good as it sounds, given who created it, which was Franklin
Yeah.
Delano Roosevelt, I believe, and his
Uh-huh.
government, was this. The retirement age of 65 when Social Security was created was 3 years after the average life expectancy of a male worker in the United States. The average life expectancy was 62 years.
Hmm.
So it was at most intended to be a prevention of you running completely out of money by the end of your retirement because you hadn't been able to save enough, and you would have Social Security to prevent you from becoming completely destitute. That has changed through politicians' promises over the years to become a retirement plan. And then the double whammy is they took all the money out of Social Security and put in IOUs from the Treasury. So
Hmm.
the money isn't there. The only money that Social Security can disperse at this point is what's paid in by younger workers. And we're seeing fewer and fewer of those because of demographic decline
Yeah.
amongst the young. And as a result, it doesn't much matter whether Social Security is defrauded or not. It's structurally unsound. It's a matter of how quickly it starts floating at the top, upside down at the top of the fish tank. So my advice to anybody under the age of 50 years old is if you ever get anything out of Social Security, count yourself lucky
Well,
because
also,
don't
they
rely
should,
on it.
yeah, don't rely on to retire on, because I remember my mother saying that the only thing that she would even try to use Social Security for when she retired would be to maybe help pay for her medicine or something. That would be it. Uh,
Yep.
because she said that's why we work. They work for Tyson. My dad was in the military, but my mother had, little jobs here and there as secretary, just little jobs off and on. And when he got out of the military, they both went to work for Tyson. And he did safety stuff. He taught fire and, all this different stuff, safety stuff for the factories and stuff for the, where they were, doing the chickens or whatever in there. But they ended up retiring from there too, like for 20 something years into that. But the thing is, if you pay money in for your retirement, make sure you're paying attention to how much money you should have. So many people, a couple of friends of my mom said that they went and it was almost time for them to retire. And when they started looking into their retirement, there was like half the money that they thought they were going to have because they were being ripped off. So many people become complacent, expecting that person that I put everything in control of just to not be a crook for some reason. We can't do that anymore. We have to stay up on everything that's yours. If it's your money and you're putting money in your savings account or things like that, because years ago we used to write it all down in a book. We used to write down, when we got our check, how much we had to take out for this or that, and if we earned any credit, or, to add to your savings and things like that. But they don't do that now. Everything's electronic. They go ching ching, ching
Yep.
ching. They don't know. So we've got to get back to some type of way for people to pay better attention to what is actually going on with their money, since it's digital, more and more digital, and it's going to be fully digital, probably in my lifetime, I'm pretty sure. And that's kind of scary to me. And it's easier to cheat people when they're not paying attention to what they actually have in their, in their bank account.
Something I would suggest is that if you have the option, if anyone has the option to get a statement from their retirement account, their IRA, their 401k, their bank accounts on written paper, take that option and have to say, no, I do not want to go paperless. Every time you go on their website, you'll have to do that. They
Yep.
hate printing it. But if an error in accounting occurs or a fraudulent charge is placed, you have recourse with paper that you do not have with electronic reporting, because electronic reporting can hide it much more easily. So for as long as you can do it, I would recommend that anybody with, as you said, retirement accounts, I would say bank accounts, checking and savings, get paper statements from your credit cards, your banks, everybody. You don't have to, you have to look at them, verify that everything looks good, and then hang on to it for about a year to 2 years. Just stick it in a file folder and shove it in on a shelf. Yeah, it'll take you a while to find it later, but if you need it, you'll have it. If you don't have it, you have no recourse sometimes to be able to make a claim against that this occurred and you lost money. So it's for as long as you're allowed to do it, I would do it.
Yeah, I would too. That was one of the things that I do now. Like I will get something from, because on my X I have to buy me a cup of coffee type thing, and I don't do it just because I want people to buy coffee for me. Okay, I had it set up because it was easier for me, because I crochet tote bags. I make some of the diamond art, logos for people. I do a lot of little things like that, and instead of them having to mail me a check or me do PayPal or any of that, I just say, hey, I send them a message. This is how much it's going to cost me to mail this to you. And they'll just send me whatever amount of money on my coffee. See? And then I get that. And then I get the stuff ready and I mail it. It's easier. Just like I said, digital is easier. Okay. For different things. Yes. But if I'm going to a yard sale, or something, I want to have some cash to be able to buy something I want. But that's what I'm saying. I don't know how they're going to do this kind of stuff, because it's going to end up really messing up, for people like me that live in rural areas. I just don't know how they're going to end up doing it. But the next thing I wanted to bring up was this whole thing with the young man and his friend that had been going through and finding and exposing all this fraud with Tim Walz in Minnesota. And he put out that video, and man, he got a lot of hurt over it. There were a lot of hate coming down his direction. But here is a new video from Nick Shirley, and I wanted to share it with everybody. Okay. So if you guys hadn't seen this yet, and I will also share this in the chat. It'll be in the chat for you if you come back later on and watch the video again too. But I'm going to share it in the chat so you can go see it. Share it with your friends and family if they don't know anything about it. But I'm going to do this real quick. So here we go.
I'm asking no. You don't ask me nothing. $2.25 million. Are
we the only community that does fraud?
How come they said this building was closed? Do you guys know where advanced mobility is? Yeah, we're looking for it. Never heard of it?
They know we're shining the light on the fraud, and they have no defense.
Would you like to see anybody in the government here held accountable?
Most definitely, because there can definitely be an allocation of funds.
The Minnesota fraud scandal continues to get worse and worse as billions of dollars of fraud has been exposed, and as I showed the world the blatant fraud taking place at daycares and other locations across Minnesota, it became the most viewed video expose on the internet and created instant change within the government as the Fed sent thousands of federal agents to Minnesota, and the HHS froze over $185 million in all payments to childcare. And while politicians like Tim Walz call people like me white supremacists and far-right delusional conspiracy theorists for exposing the fraud, meanwhile, he actually dropped out of running for re-election. The Minnesota fraud scandal has erupted the nation as protests and riots took place, all starting because daycares like Quality Learning Center were exposed. However, the daycares is only a small portion of the fraud taking place in Minnesota. In this video, I will take you into what has continued to allow this fraud to happen and connect all of the dots for you, exposing all of the fraud from strange connections of the business owners and the politicians who have openly admitted to the fraud on live TV. And to dive deep into the fraud, I met back up with the local David, who has been investigating this widespread fraud scandal for years. So here in Minnesota, you have daycare fraud, you have adult daycare fraud, you have healthcare fraud, and you even have more fraud. What's some of the fraud that's also taking place here inside of Minnesota?
Well, what I think might be sort of the heart of the beast here is this transportation fraud. And what I mean by that is in Minnesota, we have something called non-emergency medical transportation, NEMT. My research has shown that there are about 1,020 such companies in Minnesota, and more than 90% of them are Somali owned.
And so right here on the table, what do we have? All this information right here.
So I have a number of companies that are local here in the Twin Cities, and this is just a fraction of the companies that are out there. What I found was that the national average for a non-emergency medical transportation company is 20 vehicles per company. A lot of these companies, their address is an apartment, some are in a house, some are in a convenience store, some of them in a vacant building. There's no signage, there's nobody there.
And so why would there be such a need for all these transportation companies here inside of Minnesota?
So if you think of this transportation as the hub of the wheel, so childcare is a spoke, adult daycare is a spoke, autism is a spoke, the interpreter services, which we can get into, that's another spoke. It all ties back to transportation. Why? Because those meals someone had to deliver those meals. Someone has to deliver the kid to autism, or say they did. So it all revolves around the transportation. And so when you're looking at this, you say, okay, well, let's just be conservative. Let's go on the low side. Let's say there are only 800 Somali-owned non-emergency medical transportation companies in Minnesota. Well, again, the average is 20 vehicles per company. So that's 800 times 20. And the way these NEMT companies are paid is if they bring someone to a doctor's appointment, whatever the case might be, or Costco or wherever they're going, because remember, it's non-emergency medical transportation. Well, we went to Costco because they have to eat or they'll die. So that's considered, right? So it's almost impossible to figure out from the outside what exactly the payments are for each of these trips. But I have a pretty good idea. So when someone provides a transportation to a facility or a location, they're also paid for the time to sit there and wait for the appointment to end and then drive the person back. So they're paid 3 different ways. And the average is going to be $50 per trip. So it's going to the appointment as a trip, coming back trip. So that's $100 per round trip. So if you have 800 companies in Minnesota that are NEMT companies, they all own 20 vehicles, and they're all making 10 trips a day, and it's $50 per trip. So it's 800 times 20 times 10 trips times $50 a trip. Do the math. And the reality is, how many of these trips are being provided? 0. They don't have to provide any. Why? Because when they are paid by the state of Minnesota, these companies go online and they fill out a form, and it just says, okay, how many trips, how many miles. They submit that electronically to the state, and boom, they get paid. Nobody bothers to check. They don't call the dentist. Did this kid show up? They don't do anything. As soon as that form is filed with the state of Minnesota, that payment goes out immediately.
And so essentially, these transportation companies are what hold all of the fraud together, because you have the daycare centers working with the transportation companies, the adult daycare centers working with the transportation companies, the healthcare companies working with the transportation companies. So it's just another way to bill and to also make it look like something's happening here inside of Minnesota.
This is the belly of the beast. All of this fraud revolves around these transportation companies. All of it. This touches every part of fraud here in Minnesota.
And today we're going to go confront these people. We confronted them last time. There was no kids in any of the child care centers. And today, what do you expect to see?
I think we're going to see some vehicles because, when I drive around the cities here, I see these these Somalis driving. Mostly it's like a Plymouth Caravan or whatever. And there's never, ever, ever been a passenger. And in 7 years, I've never seen a passenger in any of these vehicles. I've followed some of them. They're going to Costco. They're going to Sam's Club. They're going to Walmart. The driver gets out, goes in there, loads up a shopping cart, comes in, puts it in the van, and off they go back to where they live.
And now we're going to go out and see what's happening with these transportation companies.
And here's the other thing. Tim Walz and the Department of Human Service, you threw the people of Minnesota under the bus. Shame on you, and I'm coming for you.
You heard it here first, David. All right, let's go. So where's the first location we're going to?
The first location is a company called Safari Transportation, Cedar Avenue South in Minneapolis.
And so what makes Safari Transportation Company an interesting transportation company?
Well,
allegedly fraudulent.
Well, the thing about Safari is that they've been registered since 2015 with the state of Minnesota as operating vehicles. And again, the national average for a non-emergency medical transportation company is 20 vehicles. So if they've got 20 vehicles and they're at 607 Cedar Avenue, I have no idea where there's parking them because there is no parking anywhere near this office.
We've arrived to the transportation company. We're outside, and right there we have a Loving Arms adult daycare. All the windows are completely boarded out right there, and there's supposed to be a transportation company registered right here. It's 617, but it's a liquor store. So the location here is 607 and also 617. These are two transportation companies. We're all on a main road right now, and this is 607, and it is not a transportation company. It's actually a money transfer, but it's registered here, 607. This does not look like Safari Transportation. Where is the transportation company?
I don't see any signs denoting that there's any transportation. It's all just looks like money wiring. But if you look at the Secretary of State's office, state of Minnesota, Safari Transportation, 607 Cedar Avenue, and it's been registered here since 2015. That was the original filing.
So let's see if we have the manager. Let's see if we can find fraud. Hello. How are you? We're looking for the transportation company.
Safari Transportation?
Looking for Safari Transportation?
No, there's no Safari Transportation.
No Safari Transportation?
Safari Transportation, 607 Cedar Avenue.
We're just looking for Safari Transportation.
We don't know.
So, but this is registered for Safari Transportation, 607.
That's the address.
Okay, we don't know.
We're asking where Safari Transportation is.
We don't know.
Okay, so the business is not here.
Don't record.
Fuad Omar?
Fuad Omar?
We don't know. This, do you see this? What is this?
Money transferring.
That's it.
Okay,
Well, this
registered.
is from the state.
This is fraud taking place. This is supposed to say, this is for Safari Transportation.
Go find out.
Yeah, we did find out. This is fraud right here.
Registered here
This is
since
registered.
2015.
2015?
Safari Transportation, state of Minnesota.
2015. Oh, yeah.
Well, but it's registered now. This is current, just off the state of Minnesota website today.
Sir, please.
This is from today. I just printed this off today. Fuad Omar.
Go check it out.
We're here. This is 607. Where's Safari Transportation?
Okay, it's no Safari, period.
Okay, so it's a fraudulent business.
Did you see Safari anything here?
Exactly.
Did you see?
Exactly. It's
Did
not
you
here.
see it?
It's a fraud.
Did you see, sir?
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to the next
Okay.
address. All right, let's keep moving on. So 607, this is supposed to be Safari Transportation, no transportation company. And now we're going to 617, another transportation company. However, it is actually Cedar Riverside Liquor. Where is the transportation company?
617.
617 right here.
Dreamline Transportation for the state of Minnesota is registered to 617 Cedar Avenue South.
And it's a liquor store. David, they aren't even trying to hide that these
Yeah.
are transportation companies. Where are the vans at?
Should we ask?
Let's go ask.
This is
Hey, we're
pitiful.
looking for Dreamline Transportation.
Now we're in 617, Dreamline Transportation.
No.
Where is the transportation company?
No, we don't have this.
You ever heard of Safari Transportation?
Safari, I know Safari, that many wiring, 607.
The money wiring.
Yeah,
Okay, that's money wiring.
yeah.
Safari
We're looking for
Transportation.
Safari
Maybe there.
Transportation.
607.
They said they never heard of it.
I never did. Safari company, the many wiring, they send money there. That's the 607.
So Safari gets the money and then they wire it out.
Yeah, many.
That man just said that Safari is actually a money wiring company, so therefore they're receiving money and then wiring it somewhere underneath the name of a transportation company.
We said to go here.
Suite A right here. And then you have 617A right here, but this is reliable services, immigration, travel, and tax. I do not see a transportation company anywhere.
Good morning. Hey, we're hoping to find Dreamline Transportation. You ever heard of it?
I'm not heard of it. Ask next door.
He said to ask here, that you would know.
Ask next door. This is a mailbox. It's not a phone.
So Dreamline Transportation could be nothing more than a mailbox. 834.
So it could be one of these mailboxes. Well,
okay, see you later.
607 Safari Transportation doesn't exist. It's actually a money wiring business. 617 Dreamline, inside of there, it's actually a liquor store. And then 617A is a place where there's a bunch of mailboxes and it says reliable ITT services. How are you doing, man?
I just want to ask you,
Yes, sir.
why are you sensationalizing the propaganda?
What are we
to-
sensationalizing?
To attack our community. What's your final objective?
We're
Are
not
you- are-
attacking your
are you-
community by any means.
Are you making
We're
good money
looking-
from this?
We're looking for fraud.
No, I'm
For
not.
instance, can you answer our question? Where's Safari Transportation Company 607?
One second.
It's not there.
How
And why don't
much-
you answer?
How much money are
Why don't you
you?
answer the
how much
question?
money
Where's
are you
617
making?
Dreamline Security?
How much money are you making?
I make money off
this?
of YouTube. That's how I make my money.
Exactly. So you're making money off of sensationalizing
That my job
and attacking
is.
the Somali community.
I'm not attacking you guys. We're asking.
I'll tell you the
fraud is
reason why
fraud,
this is
sir.
happening. All right. Let me tell
David,
you the reason why
fraud
you're
is fraud,
this.
correct?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with race. This is fraud.
This
Is fraud.
absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here,
Okay, there you go. That is one of the reasons why nobody wants to talk about it. Because as soon as you bring up anything, they point their finger at you and say you're racist or you hate me because I'm a Muslim. See that?
Cool. No problem. Don't care.
I know, but
At this
that
point,
is
I
one of
don't
the
care.
reasons why nobody will do anything, because they don't want to be the one that all the fingers are pointing at as the one standing out.
I
the
think
whistleblower.
I think this is minor compared with the repercussions for actual whistleblowers that can provide
Oh, yeah,
documentation.
yeah. That's what I'm
This
saying.
guy's showing video on YouTube and look at the reaction he's getting. Imagine if he'd walked in there with a police officer and said, you know, we're going to lock this place down and I'll go through your books looking for fraud. What do you think the reaction would be then?
They'd be
I think their
panicking.
hair would catch fire.
But see the guy right here in the black, I think he's the bodyguard because of what happened the last time. Because I'm sure he's getting death threats and things like that. And remember the young man they called Big Balls that was involved in Doge? Well, he got the crap beat out of him too in Washington, D.C. I mean, these people point the finger at all of us because we want the fraud out. We want the criminals out. We want people deported. We want our country back, right? And because of that, I'm a Nazi, I hate people if they're not the same skin tone as me or any of that stuff. It has nothing to do with any of that. But it doesn't matter. They're still going to point the finger at me and say that I'm a horrible person because I want people to know the truth about the fraud, and I want to see people held accountable. If you went somewhere and you told someone, oh, I want to buy 4 tires from you at your company, and I want you to put them on my car, and then later on they found out that all the money I'd given them was all fake money. Let's say printed my own money and they took it, a few $1,000s. Do you think I would just get no, bad girl? No, I would probably lose everything. I'd probably lose my home and everything and be put in prison for it, because that's against the law. So it's sad that some people are held accountable for breaking the law, but then others, simply because of where they might come from or who's in charge over them, and who knows whose elbows are rubbing and all that stuff. They just get away with it and nothing happens.
Yep.
And what's going to happen that I feel is that a lot of these people see this gentleman that's saying that he's making money off of it on YouTube. It doesn't matter to him that these are all fraudulent buildings, all 4 of them that they just talked about. He's probably one of the ones that get thrown under the bus. See, that's what's sad. All these little players, yeah, I want to see them held accountable, but I want the big guys. I want the ones who started it all. I want the ones who are making bank off of it and got their little fingers in all these pies. Those are the people that I want to see the most held accountable. You know, the ones who started it. This guy right here, he might be one of the small players making a few dollars here and there. But to him, it's important because he's not rich. You know, he's just making this few extra bucks and trying to discredit this guy to people that are gathering around because they see cameras and they want to know what's going on. But it's really scary. I know it's got to be scary for these 2 gentlemen to go door to door and ask these questions because they have to have bodyguard with them because they don't know what's going to happen. Any of these people could pull out a knife, a gun, anything because they feel threatened. So a lot of people don't realize that when you try to do something like this, you're putting yourself at risk. And I do believe that. To me, he's doing it. He was doing a YouTube channel before, but because he found the right niche, you know, and to prove fraud and expose it, now he's hated for it. Instead, like me, I get hate. I get tons of hate. I get terrible stuff left to me about they want me to die. They want to kill me. I mean, just horrible stuff just because I do this. Well, exactly what we're talking about right now is because I just want a few more people to see the truth. And I share the links because I want people to, for themselves, to go research it. Because if you go and look it up and you find something else or something else, something more and more and more, more of us involved is what's going to help this country by getting more people to see the truth. To me, that's the most important thing, because once a person's eyes are open, they don't close again. You know what I mean? And I do really believe that. But okay, I'm going to go back and let this finish this. It's almost over.
Change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
We're not saying that.
No.
We're not saying that.
When I go
Sir,
onto
we're
your
talking
comments,
about fraud. You're talking.
When I go onto your comments,
my comments.
What I see is people that say we do not want Muslims here. Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You are You're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right. You're sensationalizing.
No, we're not.
All right,
Sir,
something that
answer
can
the question. Where is the transportation vehicle company?
Jeopardize
answer the question.
The safety and the protection of the Somali community.
We're talking about fraud.
Anything happens to the Somali community.
We're talking about fraud.
Listen, I'm not doing anything. I'm not physically touching you.
You're getting very close.
I'm not physically touching you. No, I'm not physically touching you.
This is fraud. We're talking about fraud. You're defending fraud.
When I go into your comments,
you're defending fraud.
People who hate Muslims want us out of here
people can say
for
what they
being
want.
Muslim.
I'm not censoring anybody.
Are using your material. Islamophobes use your material. People who hate Islam use your material. Say to us, we don't want you here. Change the Constitution. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Guess what?
Say it. We're asking about fraud. We're asking about fraud.
You hate Muslims.
I'm not saying I hate Muslims. We're talking about fraud. We're talking about fraud. Why are you attacking us?
Are we the only community that suffers because of fraud?
We're talking about fraud.
Are we the only community that does fraud? Are we the only community that does this?
This is about fraud.
Right, there's what, 300 Somali providers in all of Minnesota?
There's actually 800.
Don't keep talking. Don't go
so
you speak English? Mr. Security doesn't even speak English. Listen, let me tell you something.
See, this isn't a race issue, sir. This is about fraud.
We have, what, 1,000 providers?
Yeah, you guys have a...
Even it's 2,000 providers. Okay, you want to sacrifice the safety of 80,000 people because of fucking 2,000 providers? Are you fucking mad?
See, are you stupid? So aggressive.
I'm not stupid. You're stupid. Where's the transportation company?
What about you? Listen, what happens in Minnesota? It will be because of you. If
Nothing
any
to do with
Somali gets
religion.
hurt in Minnesota, it's because of
They're
me
the ones
fucking
that
Shirley.
make that about that.
This
If any
is
Somali,
this is about
if one
fraud.
single Somali gets hurt,
This is about
it's
fraud,
because
sir.
of you. Sensationalizes. You son of a bitch. Sensationalizes.
Wow, you're
Get
very
the fuck
nice.
out of our neighborhood.
Very nice.
Get the fuck out of our
Sir,
neighborhood.
can you tell me where the transportation
Get the fuck
company
out
is?
of our neighborhood. We don't want you here. Get the fuck out of here.
Calm down, sir.
Get the fuck out of here.
Sir, this is
You
about
wanted
fraud.
sensationalize? You wanted clicks?
You're
You got clicks.
sensationalizing yourself,
You
sir.
wanted clicks?
You're
You got
sensationalizing yourself.
clicks. You wanted clicks? You wanted the YouTube?
Tell me where the
You
transportation
wanted
vehicle
YouTube
is.
clicks? You got YouTube clicks. Now get the fuck out of our community.
Tell me where the
Get the
transportation
fuck out of our
vehicle is.
community.
Tell me where the.
You
This
stupid,
is about
racist
fraud.
motherfucker.
This is
Say I don't want
this is about
everything
fraud.
on that
Say I don't
kid
want Muslims here.
when he hasn't said
Say it.
anything
Say
nice
I
at
want to
all.
change
Not
the
one thing,
Constitution.
No, I don't
And I
want
want
to
to
change the
change freedom of
Constitution.
religion. And I don't want Muslim Somalis in Minnesota. Kick them out. I was born in this country. You have
You
to
don't
take the
want.
passport
He
away
doesn't
from
want
me.
you in his
That is what
community.
you are
Sir,
arguing for.
we're not talking.
Change the Constitution.
This is about fraud.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Get the fuck out of our community.
This is about fraud.
Get the fuck out of our community. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Stupid fucking idiot.
Tell me where the transportation company.
Okay, well, that's basically the gist of this whole thing is them these two gentlemen trying to expose true fraud, money that the whole state of Minnesota, not just this one town, the whole state of Minnesota is paying for the fraud that these people in these businesses or that are saying that they're in these businesses that they're not. Supposedly these are legitimate businesses and that they're using their address to use fraud on the state. But every time they try to do anything or to expose it, to get the government to come in there, find out what's really going on, they get attacked by people that are going to get money or not get money simply because of what they're talking about. And that's scary. That's scary because a normal person that just wants their money where it belongs and not in fraud, they can't speak out because see what happened to them? They're afraid to say anything, so they don't because they'll be threatened or hurt and who knows what else. So it's really sad. The situation has gotten this bad, and they turn everything around to fit their narrative because they don't want your narrative to be heard. And to me, that's just disgraceful. But I don't know what else to tell anyone. But I shared the link for the rest of this video. If you want to watch it, it's in the chat, and we'll go on to the next thing. But do you have anything you want to say about that, Red Shirt? It's pretty bad, isn't it?
People don't like. Well, people who are committing fraud don't like to get caught, and people who are benefiting from fraud don't want it to stop. So he has of course he takes the standard attack line, which is invalid, but he learned it from his progressive friends. The ad hominem attack, accuse the person of being a bad person and therefore they're wrong. And we're well past the point where we need to stop allowing people to change the terms of the conversation, change the rules of the interaction. You're not going to get anywhere with him, so you don't need to pursue that. Where you need to pursue is you need to be focusing on getting law enforcement involved in this. Now, obviously, a lot of the law enforcement in Minnesota is compromised, and this is where, as far as I'm concerned, the only way change is going to happen is with federal law enforcement, which is removed from this, but can assert jurisdiction on the basis of federal funding fraud, and it can go after this. But I don't see it happening locally because it hasn't happened locally. It's been going on for years, and nothing's been done without federal involvement. So
one thing
he's a little. You won't change his mind, I guess is the way to put it. You're not going to change his mind. The irony is he wants you out of his neighborhood. He doesn't want to be out of our neighborhood. He thinks
Well,
that's
just like what
invalid.
we've been seeing on the news about all the ICE agents, being attacked, their vehicles being rammed, surrounded, pelted with rocks. I mean, all kinds of bad stuff, right? And I hear over and over again, oh, they need to bring in the National Guard. Well, a lot of people don't realize the president can't just send the National Guard into your state. You have to have your governor or mayor or other city officials ask for it, because each state has their own constitution. Our country is different than Europe and other countries, the way that they run it. Each one of our states is like a country within a country, right? Basically, because we have rules of our own. Like in Colorado, it's legal to smoke pot, even if it's against the law in the federal law. So they can't just come to your house and arrest you because you're smoking a joint in Colorado. I mean, it's just the way our country works. So as long as we have those type of things going on, that's why we're going to see the chaos that we're seeing, because you have these states that have picked them. They've made it to where they're sanctuary states. So we, as the federal government, us paying money in, we want to have more say in it, but really we don't. I mean, we really don't have say in it, because we can't stop them from doing it, except they can still say that they're a sanctuary city, but we can stop sending them federal aid. See what I mean? That's the only thing basic we can do. But they can still harbor them, but they can't stop the federal government from going in and arresting these people. And that's what they're trying to do.
They can do that. But they have to, but one particular tripwire has to be crossed. One particular line has to be crossed. And that's the Insurrection Act.
I know, we need it.
You can't send the National Guard into a state to enforce federal law. You can send the military, but it is a nuclear option. There is, it has been used. It was used to desegregate schools in the South. It's been used on a number of occasions by a number of presidents. But the bottom line is that it's not something you want or hope would be used for a wide-ranging operation, because that gets out of hand. That could get out of hand. The bottom line, though, is we have federal enforcement. We've been doing that. A lot of federal law enforcement officers have been going to Minnesota, to Minneapolis, St. Paul. That's been what's been driving Tim Walz up a tree, is 1,000 federal agents coming in to investigate, to make arrests. You have ICE, who's part of that federal law enforcement. They are specifically after people who are illegal immigrants, who do not have the right to be in the United States. And the third option is sort of the fail-safe. And the third option has not been invoked. It could be under certain circumstances. I'm not a lawyer, nor am I an expert on the use of the Insurrection Act, so I won't speculate at all. I will simply say that it can be used, it has been used, and it may give us enforcement on the ground to a degree that we do not have now, but it will come. But at what cost? That's what I don't know.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
I fear opening that Pandora's box.
I do too, but I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, from what I'm seeing, I don't really think that this state of Minnesota is giving the rest of us, any other options besides force.
Tim Walz is trying his best to get President Trump to invoke it. As far as
it seems like it. This sure does seem like it, because today I thought he was saying stuff about don't let them, take the people, don't let them do this, don't let them do that. So he's still being defiant. And I tried to find the article.
Rise up.
Yeah,
he did say rise up against federal law enforcement. rising up against federal law enforcement is the definition of insurrection.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. He wants them to cause chaos in his state because he doesn't want to go down without a fight, even though he knows they got a shit ton of evidence against him. And what's really sad, remember the murders that happened not very long ago in his state? And it was some ex-employee of his. Well, one of the women that did die, she was one of the only people that came out and said she's going to vote for the people of Minnesota and not for what they were trying to push. She voted against Tim, and then she ends up dying a little bit later after she did that. And you could tell in the interview when she came out and talked about why she voted against them. And you could tell she was petrified. I mean, that it was, I wish I tried to find that video, but I didn't have time. I was looking, and I just got so many videos. It's just amazing how much I have. Once you're in the DM chat more and more, you're going to go, geez, does she ever stop putting stuff in here? But I try to have as much in there as I can so we can go through it and each of us read something. Because let's say, like, if you decide to start doing this more with me, you find a couple articles and you think it's important that we should share it, then we can bring it up and bring it up there. And I tell everybody in the different chats that I have, if you find anything that you think is important, let me know and we'll share it on the shit show or on after hours, depending on, what it is and how much detail we're going to have to go into it. That was interesting, I think. But this is the other part of the same two guys that have been exposing the fraud, because Nick Shirley's right-hand man, David Hosh, just confirmed what many suspected. This is about to explode, and it's 10 times worse. So I wanted to play, I'm going to share this video, but I'm also going to share the link in the chat for everybody else so that you guys can share it and listen to it and share it with other people. Because the more people know about it, the more the truth gets out, the better, because we want people to hear the truth. So maybe it might save some people from going there with their, half cocked and getting in trouble or hurting someone that really shouldn't get hurt because they're just trying to tell the truth. You know what I mean? So hopefully more and more of this comes out and we start seeing people prosecuted that deserve to be prosecuted.
So I've been researching this issue of fraud, and more specifically Somali fraud, because it is so gargantuan for the past 7 years. Many of you are familiar with the video that Nick Shirley and I made. We have a second video that's coming out Monday that is 10 times worse than the original video. It's going to be pretty shocking and it's pretty graphic. So what I have here is a 5-year recap of all of the CCAP money, that's child care assistance payments, for the last 5 years. The top 102 recipients of that, 84 of them are Somali owned. You know how many children I've seen at those child care centers over the last 7 years? 0, not one. There's another pile of money, and it's called Great Start, and that money is given to the facility to train their staff. Well, if you don't have any kids, you don't need any staff. Then what I believe is the core of all this, is this non-emergency medical transportation. So a search showed that Minnesota recognizes 1,020 NEMT companies. Almost 900 of them are Somali owned. So in the second video, Nick Shirley and I went to 16 of them. I've actually been to about 70 of them. They don't exist. They're in an apartment building. One of them's a liquor store. Another one's a wire transfer. Another one is something totally unrelated. It's a grocery store. There are no vehicles. And the average NEMT company in the United States has 20 vehicles, and each vehicle generates about $70,000 a year. So you run those numbers, 800 companies, 20 vehicles, $70,000 a year, and it's an enormous sum of money that's going out. So my feeling is that chasing the money transfers and the wires and the SARS is great, but you got to drop like Batman on Minnesota DHS because they're the ones who are writing the checks. They're the ones allowing the fraud to happen. Look, you can blame the Somalis, but if you stick your hand out and someone puts $100 in it, yet you're going to stick your hand out again and keep the people who are putting the $100 in have got to stop doing it. They got to get out of their office and go out and look at these facilities and say, this is an apartment building. You can't have a transportation company in an apartment building. And the vast majority of these companies exist on paper only. They're not real. They have no assets, no office, and no vehicles. The other thing is that when a child care facility receives federal funds, they must abide by Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VI, which says that you cannot be exclusive to one ethnic group in your child care facility. It's discrimination. So when DHS goes out and does these inspections, they always do them announced. So they call ahead to let them know they're coming. So of course, you stockpile the kids in there and everything looks great. But do they actually count the number of kids that are there? Because some of these facilities are licensed for 120 kids and they don't have any kids. And even if they do load kids in, they got 10 of them. But DHS doesn't going to go with 10 kids. Wait a minute, you're licensed for 120. What's going on here? They have no sign in or sign out sheet like a normal daycare is. So there's no way to track if there are any kids there, who they are, what race they are, any of that. So I'm asking for the Fed's help to come in and get to DHS and tell them get their act together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David.
Good. And David, I want to thank you for both your citizen journalism, but more for your citizen investigation in terms of what the Minnesota government was unwilling to do. And here, would you care to speculate whether it was negligence or corruption or some toxic cocktail of both?
So Governor Walz is on record as saying that organized crime caused the fraud in Minnesota. And I said, organized crime, but like the mafia, like the Colombo, I mean, you know, what is he talking about? He never got specific, but he did admit to knowing about the fraud in 2020. He's on record as saying that. Well, Minnesota has a law and it's statute 3.971, subdivision 9, and it says that if you are head of an agency and you are made aware of fraud or suspected fraud, you must immediately contact the Office of the Legislative Auditor and notify them of the fraud. The legislative auditor then is the body that determines what law enforcement agency to bring into the investigation. Governor Walz said he contacted the FBI. He didn't. I talked to the FBI, but it's not his prerogative to do that. It's the legislative auditor's prerogative to do that. And look, I just want to say everything I've done on my own. I don't make a penny off this. I was born here. I grew up here. My whole family's here. And I'm not going to sit by while this happens and not do anything. I'm the guy who's going to make the difference. And I'm telling you, when this next video comes out, it's going to be World War III.
Well, I find myself in the unusual position of agreeing with Governor Walz that it was undoubtedly organized crime. And what we are seeing, and this is what Treasury does, we have successfully tracked and prosecuted the mafia. We have successfully tracked and prosecuted the Mexican cartels. And this is organized crime within the Somali community. So he is right. This is an organized criminal enterprise, and we will get to the bottom of it. And thank you for your help.
And so all of this fraud that you're now seeing being uncovered around the country after our video came out, everyone's going to these child care facilities, these adult care, there's nobody there. They're getting hundreds of millions of dollars. They go, where are the people? They're on a field trip. They're not there. So the fraud, I believe, is being developed here. The programs are being developed here, and then they're fanning out across the country. But this is their ground zero right here. This is their base, Minneapolis.
So, well, what do you think of that? That was just, like the cusp of letting you know what happened in the video that we watched earlier, because we only watched a small portion of it. So, it's even bigger than anybody even thought of, because it's so deep. And when he asked, well, what do you think this is? Do you think it's, crime, or do you think it's negligence, that they just weren't looking after it? Honestly, this is the question I asked everybody. When all these people were being brought here, okay, from Somalia and flown to the different states, because this isn't just going on in Minnesota. I've heard it's going on in Ohio, and other states, little pockets of little Somali groups of people. I don't think, honestly, that most of the people that were brought here were educated enough to think of something so grand. Oh, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I think certain people that decided to bring them in, because I did a little bit of a show, it was about 2 months ago on Friday Night Shit Show, and I had a whistleblower, and he was talking about a food production company that had brought in a whole bunch of Somalis to work for them, because they could get like 3 employees for the price of 1, basically, from before. Yep. And that they had signs that said they had to wash their hands and they had to use the restrooms and all this stuff. But these people were urinating and defecating all over the place, wherever they wanted. They were washing their genitals and stuff in the sinks, in this place. And that multiple times people had come and said, you can't do that. But OSHA didn't shut them down. I mean, if you knew that some of that food was sent to your store, wouldn't you want to know? That's what was going on in that place. It's disgusting. And so you can't get me to believe that it was all the Somalis' idea. You see what I mean? That's why I said that's what scares me, is that they're going to somehow push it all off on them and then deport them, and nothing happens. And now they just transfer different people to take over the fraud, because none of the top people are going to come down. That's why I think we have to go from the top down and put these people in prison and take everything. If they have 5 houses, take their houses, sell them and put the money back into the system where it belongs. Pay off all the people that were ripped off. Which is the taxpayers, right? So that's what I think we have to see.
Well, I think that one of the tools that they're going to have to use for this is going to be RICO, because RICO was written to go after the mafia. It's essentially it's against the law to run a corrupt organization. It's against the law to be a head of a corrupt organization. And if, as and when RICO investigations and prosecutions can begin, that's what got the top level of the mafia that managed to finally convict them. And those are the types of convictions you're more likely to get with people who are high up in this fraud. Is going to be a RICO conviction. You're not going to get them on fraud. You're going to get them on RICO. I think.
But you know what? When you go anywhere, like in your town, and you just start a conversation with somebody, say on your bowling league or at the grocery store or whatever, and you start talking to them about the RICO, they just kind of look at you like, huh? But if you talk to them about fraud, almost everyone understands some sort of fraud. So the whole way that they're going about doing these 2 people, Nick Shirley and them, getting this out, I think they went about it the right way, because to go in and think that you could start, because look what happened with the Diddy case. Everyone was bitching him on, they should have got him on RICO. He should have got him on this. They should have got him on the thing about trafficking, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, honestly, they got him on 2 things. That he's in prison. Okay. So that's something. That's a start. Okay. People are starting to get out, they're going to sue, right?
They got Al Capone. They got Al Capone on tax evasion.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
they
can find a way. They can find a way. If law enforcement wants to find a way, they can do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
It takes effort, and that's what we have. But it's sad that that whole room of people that you see at the White House press area, right? That whole room of people that are multiple people changing week after week, right? Not one of them came up with any of this stuff. This was a young guy that was talking to a guy that says, I found all this fraud and I've tried to show it to people. I've tried to do this and no one listened to me. Well, he said, I'll listen to you. So he went with them, and guess what? And look what happened. Okay. Because there's real journalists do that. That's what they do. They investigate, they go out and they try to gather the evidence to prove their case. And they did. So they deserve to be treated as journalists because that's exactly what they are. Some of these other people, they're just, I don't know what you would even call them or where you would put them, because they're definitely not journalists. They're not looking for the truth. They're not looking for facts. They're just blah, 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 whatever. Okay. So I give him kudos. I'm proud of him. I'm proud that he's making a little money on YouTube or whatever, wherever he's at, that they are being recognized for the hard work they did and the risk they put it themselves in. I mean, I was nervous just watching that little interview with that guy getting up in their face and stuff. And I'm thankful they had bodyguards. I've been seeing some of these young men coming out and women trying to expose and show people what's going on with the ICE agents and the people attacking them and all that stuff for the whole thing that's still going on in Minnesota too. And I feel it's scary to see some of the way that these people treat people because they're trying to get the facts. It's scary and sad, but they got balls of steel. I could say that, because for them to go out and put themselves in that realm and not have big, giant, burly bodyguards around. I mean, I would be afraid even then to go out and be shot at or whatever, because they didn't like what I had to say, or the fact that I had a microphone and I'm walking around trying to find out the truth from people. And it's scary to see that, but I'm glad that something's happening, that they forced a spotlight in this black pitch sewer and all the rats and the gators and everything are running everywhere and are fighting for their lives. And that's good. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do. But I hate to say it, but I think that it's going to end up coming down to the Insurrection Act. I really do. But we have to do something. We can't just let this happen. We can't let our ICE agents go in there and risk getting killed every day. You know what I mean? It's just, it's ridiculous. We're trying to fight for our country, and it's being torn up from the inside out, basically, is what it looks like. So
it is, you know, import the third world, become the third world. It's cultural. And that's where the man misses the point, intentionally so. This is not a racial issue. This is a cultural issue. There are cultures. Michael Yon puts it, the former war correspondent in Iraq and Afghanistan, has a very, very neat little saying to remind his readers, not all fish get along in the same tank. And the fish, the species are cultures. In that regard, the fish species are a metaphor for cultures. So, you know, it's the issue is, to me, is that, yes, this is a cultural issue. We're importing cultures that come from low trust societies where you can't leave your doors unlocked. You can't leave your belongings in plain sight. You're not safe to walk down the street at night. And, you know, they're being brought into a country that until recently had a high trust culture. Yeah. And it's eroding. It's been eroded over the years. It's going to continue to erode. And I think that's one of the things that that you could talk about fraud. I think one of the things that really people notice, if they're honest with themselves, which means they're not benefiting from this stuff, is, you know, you talk about whether you can leave your door unlocked. You know, I've lived in places where I couldn't leave my door unlocked in the East Coast. There were neighborhoods where you didn't do that. I now live in a place where you can leave your door unlocked, but that's mainly because everybody around here is armed. You know, Central Texas. Robert Heinlein had a great line. an armed society is a polite society. Let me tell you, you don't see many cases of road rage on Central Texas roads in spite of the traffic.
Well, it's because you have that something could happen for your action. You see what I mean?
Yes.
When you have a kid that keeps doing something and you keep saying, stop that, don't do that, you're going to get in trouble if you keep doing that, but you never do anything, they're going to keep doing it. But if you go up to your kid and you take it away from them and you put it up high where they can't get it anymore and say, you can't have that.
Right.
The next time when they're, or I'm going to put you in the corner, and then you make them sit in the corner or whatever, you show them that you mean what you say. And if you follow through with it, the next time you say, if you touch that again, you're going to go sit in the corner, they won't touch it because they don't want to sit in the corner. But we've gotten to it in a culture to where, every kid gets a trophy, parents have kids that they're in college and they have a vehicle, they have a cell phone, their parents are paying for everything, right? And they sit on their phone and talk about how much they hate capitalism. They don't understand what they're doing because they're coddled by their parents. And then they go to college and the college is telling them your parents are the enemy, whatever else is going on. We're churning out more and more of these people that hate their parents, that hate their country, and think that we're all, horrible, terrible Nazis that don't want anyone to have anything or something. I don't know how they do it because, I never looked at my parents that way. But, and a lot of friends of mine didn't look at their parents that way. But we're seeing it more and more coming out. They hate themselves because, I don't know, they're told they're bad and that they got to pay for all the bad things that happen to these other people. I don't know. I don't understand any of it. It makes no sense, but we got to do something. Something's got to change because we have to have somebody step up and take all these positions in the future. Someone's got to be, mayors and sheriffs and police officers and soldiers and paramedics. And we need people in all these positions. We can't have everybody be these road warriors that stand out in the street and stop ICE from being able to do their job. You know what I mean? Who's paying these people? And I had a woman on like 2 months ago that said she went undercover with some friends in Oregon. And she said, and she had, different things that she brought on the show, that if you looked around the crowds, that you'd see certain people wearing either green vests or a green hat, and they were lawyers. Okay.
Yep.
And then when someone would get arrested, they would get in their car and follow them and then bail them out. So whoever's paying all these people, and I think Trump just signed an executive order recently saying that, anyone with money tied to Soros or whatever else, and putting it in here to help these, protesters and these people doing, things against ICE agents, that could be held as a terroristic action or something like that. I don't really know for word, but so there, as far as I can tell, Trump is doing everything he can. And what's sad is we have such a bad Congress. They're forcing Trump to do nothing but executive orders. Every step like today, our own vice president had to be to break the tie so that Trump could still do the stuff that he's been doing with the War Powers Act or whatever it is, that our own Congress is voting against the president. And they all ran on saying they wanted to America first, blah, blah, blah. And they're not doing what they said they were going to do. They're doing everything they can to stop Trump from being able to do anything. And it's just like what happened before. It's like no matter what the people vote for, that these people that are in office, even Republicans, and that's what I'm talking about, the rhinos, the ones who say that they're going to do this, that, and the other, but then they don't do anything when they get in there. Because they don't have to. They're not, the people from their state are not going to them and saying, hey, what's going on? We're not voting for you again. we're voting your ass out because we put you in there to do what we asked for. And what we asked for was transparency. We want the illegals gone. We want this, that, blah, blah, blah. And you're doing none of it. Everything you're doing is trying to stop Trump from trying to do his job and making him have to write another executive order. And we saw how that worked out for us. The first day that Biden was in office, he sat in there and wrote, took out one after the other of the executive orders that Trump had done before he was in office. So it's like, we can't win because we don't have enough actual people that run on, they say one thing and then they do totally opposite of what they said they were going to do when they run. And unless you and I start holding these people accountable for the job they said they were going to do and then sit around going, well, when are you going to do it? It just say, oh, well, I did what I had to. I voted for him. That's not enough anymore. We've got to start expecting, calling, going to their office, sending emails, whatever we can do to try to get these people to follow through on what they said they were going to do and tell them we are not voting for you next time. I'm going to do nothing but talk about how you were in here for a whole year. You couldn't even get Trump's appointed judges in. They haven't done shit. They're just sitting around. Right. Waiting and wasting time. A whole year went by and Trump didn't get to do hardly any of the things. And what's going to happen the next time we bring James Comey in for more? Nothing, because we don't have any judges. We don't have enough judges in there to prosecute these people because they're all crooked. And we got a bunch of crooked people in there that aren't backing Trump. So I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous. But this next thing is about the fraud when it comes to the ballots and what's starting to come out. So I'm going to start this video real quick. It says on here that it says not one military ballot matched a registered voter in Michigan. Not one. Every single ballot reviewed was marked for Joe Biden. 0 Trump votes, not a single one. So if you think about it, that's statistically impossible. There's no way every single ballot from a military person was all going to be for Joe Biden. And I can tell you right now, I do believe that, honestly, I do believe that Obama won. But I can tell you right now, I do not believe that Joe Biden got more votes than Obama. I think it's impossible. I just don't believe that. And that's why one of the reasons why I do believe that there was massive fraud, because there's no way he got that many votes more.
I have my own anecdote for fraud in that election. I blinked and rubbed my eyes late at night, election night, because I could have sworn that I watched Joe Biden's total climb and Donald Trump's total drop. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wait a minute. How do you have fewer votes? You can't. And that wasn't mail-ins. That was Dominion voting machines being run out of Venezuela. Mm-hmm. So, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think
I worked the polls in Louisiana and Arkansas. And a lot of people get so sick of me because I'll say, if you want to understand where I'm trying to come from and other people that are trying to prove election fraud, sign up to work the polls one time in wherever your little area, special election or something, so that you can sit and take ballots or the information and pass out ballots, whatever your job ends up being that you do training for. And then they come in, people ask for a ballot, you look at their ID, you do all the little things, and you say your little district or whatever, you have 300 people or 300 registered voters, so you should have 300 ballots, right? So at the end of the night, and it's usually you might have 70%, that's really high for an election, to have 70% of the registered voters in your district show up, right? Depending on the election, you're going to have more for presidential something or a governor's race, something like that, than you are for like sheriff or a county judge, things like that. But what's funny is I was watching all these videos come in and I'm like, they're saying they had, 22,000 votes more than ballots they passed out. Well, that's impossible. You know, if I'm in this table and we have 300 ballots, because we have the paperwork and stuff to show that this is how many ballots we have at our table, because that's how many registered voters are in our book, that we're going to be looking up names and addresses and stuff to prove that we're only giving one ballot to each person that comes and shows us their driver's license or their other ID, whatever it is, military ID, whatever. And so at the end of the night, we should have only votes on ballots from the ones we handed out. And they take the little end off and put it in the box next to the place they put that in. So like that. So at the end of the night, when you take it out, the number of the little strips should match the number of ballots that we count. You know, it's so simple, yet they were able to get away with all this, thousands and thousands of ballots that came from no place, you know, that weren't there at the beginning of the night, but now are. And that takes a lot of people to cheat. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if I walked around in any of my voting areas that I worked, and I saw a guy sitting there by himself with a whole stack of ballots and he's writing on them and then passing it and writing on them, like, I'd call a judge over there and say, that guy's writing on people's ballots. No one is supposed to write on anyone's ballot except for the person who you handed the ballot to. And there's only been one time that I've ever seen where other people wrote on it. This woman came up after we gave her thing and she said, I made a mistake on my ballot. And we're like, you made a mistake? So we call a judge over, a real judge, you know, like a county judge. She comes over and we say, this is a spoiled ballot. She wrote on the thing and not the person she wanted. So we're going to give her a new ballot. So before we are allowed to give her a new ballot, we all at the table, all 5 of us, have to initial the ballot. And then the judge writes his initials on the back of the ballot. He puts it in an envelope and he seals it, and it says, we stamp it, it says spoiled. Okay. So that is going to go in there with the other tickets that goes with the ballots that are dropped in the box after the person voted, right? Then the lady has to hand the same person, the judge at the beginning, and then the witnesses and, you know, whatever, as it goes down the line, make sure it's the same woman and give her one ballot because she should only have one. So at the end of the night, we passed out what, 300 ballots, like I said, plus one. Well, guess what? The extra one is in the spoiled ballot. See what I mean? So it still balances 301 ballots. That's how it works out. And it works. And if more people would sign up and try it once, they'd understand that. So when they see a video and they see this going on, or boxes coming out from under tables and whatever else, you're like going, there's massive amounts of cheating going on because you've worked. You understand the process, at least in your own state. You would understand that, because other states might do it different. Like Oregon, they only have mail-in ballots. They don't have any other. But the people that are counting the ballots or mailing them out have a process that they're supposed to follow. So it can be regulated and watched if the people aren't, you know, corrupt. But I'm going to go ahead and play this. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. I do that a lot. But here we go.
Not one of the military ballots was a registered voter. And the ballots looked like they were all exactly the same Xerox copies of the ballot. They were all for Biden across the board. There wasn't a single Trump vote. And none of the voters were registered. They had to manually enter the names and addresses and a birth date of 1/1/2020, which would override the system and allow them to enter non-registered voters, of which I saw several that day. Throughout the day, that's how they would override voters that were neither in the electronic poll book or the supplemental updated poll book.
Thank you. What time of the morning was it when you saw this come in? Or what time of the evening was it?
Like you said, 3-ish, 4 in that window.
In the afternoon?
No. I was there from
3 or 4 in the morning.
I was there at 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
They were in mail sleeves, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody have any earmarkings of who they were carrying these ballots? Were they carrying them? Were they on a dolly?
Yeah, they were on a dolly. Do I know who they were? Absolutely not. But they were people that were doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lucido. Senator Santana.
Yes.
Was there any particular reason you didn't ask for a supervisor to question, the ballots coming in on a dolly or?
Well, I didn't figure I needed to because the lead counsel that was supposed to be there was taking tally and I was there standing right next to him. So I figured he was kind of the person that was overseeing the whole night. That's what we were told. No, we were talking directly about why are these coming in. We all thought it was interesting that these ballots were coming in so late. What was his response? We were trying to take. Sorry.
What was his response, sir?
We were taking count and we were, his exact response, I couldn't recall, but we were definitely perplexed that these were coming in so late, as well as they were being put out to be counted.
So see, you got people testifying what they saw, and they've been doing this since before. Remember when Giuliani and all of them were going to court? And what's really sad to me is, and I think this person might end up being in the mix of all this, is that remember when Trump did his speech in front of the Capitol and they said it was an insurrection, okay, and that he's the one that wanted the insurrection before the people breached the building and all that different stuff, being let in or whatever you want to call it. We had Pence there, the vice president of the United States, and people were lined up from all these different states saying, we don't want you to accept our ballots yet because I feel that there's some kind of fraud was going on. We have all this we need to look at. So we would rather you not accept them and send them back to our states and let us get it straightened out. Many states. I can't remember exactly how many it was, but they all were there, represented their states, asking to send it back so that they could straighten it out there. And he took them anyways. So he accepted the electoral college votes from those states, even though there was people lined up with all the documentation and videos and all different stuff saying that they've caught all this stuff and they think they had fraud in their state. Well, it's been going to court ever since. Okay. Yep. But I really do think he was involved in it too. And he's a Republican. So I'm just saying, I think there's dirty people on both sides that were involved in all this corruption. And I hope they catch as many of them as they can and prosecute them.
Well, I know there are. I mean, I read there's a fascinating article. Unfortunately, I can't find it online because I've tried to locate another copy so that I could show it to people.
Yeah.
It's written by Angelo Codavilla, who was a professor emeritus of government and poli-sci at Boston College. And in his essay, he essentially makes the argument that we do not have two parties in the government. We have one party in the government and one party in the country. Democrats and Republicans are not two different parties. They are the ruling party together. And the people of the United States are the country party. And the problem is that the ruling party enforces all the rules. So that's what you saw on January 6th with Mike Pence, was he's a member of the ruling party and he enforced the rules to accept the Electoral College votes, even though people from the country party who'd been poll watchers were telling him, we don't want this certified. So you can explain a lot about the behavior of government in the last 25 years. This is for 2002. This is a 23-year-old article. That's why I can't find it. We have been doing this for many, many years. We lost the distinction between Republicans and Democrats, and we essentially have Republicans and Democrats versus the governed. And this is part of the reason Trump is so hated by Congress, that they want nothing to do with his ideas, is because he's not a member of the ruling party. He's an outsider. Usurper from the country. He's a usurper from the country party who made it into the White House. And as a result, he's despised because he's the enemy. And make no mistake, they consider the people of the United States to be the enemy. because they know
Yep.
what would happen if they ever lost control.
And that's why I think that we're seeing so many of these states just let the chaos go, because the more agitated people get, the more bad things happen. And that's what they want. Because when a person gets mad enough and pulls out a gun and shoots someone, now they have a reason why they can take your guns away. See? All these things that these people are doing, thinking, because they've been brainwashed into thinking that you and I hate them and want to see them all dead or put in camps, which is funny to me because I didn't get the shots. Okay. I didn't get a single shot. I didn't let them stick that thing up my nose. I made them take my blood to test me when they thought I had COVID, which was negative. I didn't fall for any of that stuff. And I didn't get work because I was in the entertainment industry. I lost lots and lots of jobs because I wouldn't get the jab, and I didn't have documentation. But what they threatened me and said I didn't deserve to be able to get health care, that if I got sick, that they should just let me die in a gurney in the hallway. I mean, they said horrible stuff like that to me. They said that I was trying to kill people. And I'm like, if I didn't get the shot and you got 5, then how am I trying to kill you? If you got 5 boosters, how can me being around you make you sick? Wouldn't it be the other way around? And then they said I should go to a camp and be trained how to be a good person and stuff like that. I mean, it was horrid. And they would all bring me boxes that says you need to be tested for COVID. You probably have COVID. You probably have COVID. I mean, I'd get like 3 a week, every week for 2 years. I had stacks of them, and they were all saying I was the bad guy when they were all doing this to me. But you know how many times I've told any of these people, well, now that you're realizing that the jab might not have been so good for you, how many times have I threatened to put you in a camp because you have COVID or any of these other diseases that you might have now because you got all jabbed up? None, not one time. All I've done is try to help those people get better care and other ways to get around to try to cure them from the mess up that happened with whatever happened with these jabs, that kind of stuff. Never done anything like that. And what happened to those 2 guys we saw earlier, and they get up, that one guy is so angry because he's exposing the fraud that he gets in his face and basically wants to punch him down. And he probably would have. Even though he never raised his voice, he kept saying, no, sir, I'm talking about fraud. I'm not talking about your religion. I'm talking about fraud. I'm talking about fraud over and over again. And the guy's in his face wanting to beat him down because he's so angry because he's trying to tell the truth. And that's what's scary to me. This is America. He should have the right to stand on the corner and say, God is coming. Are you ready? That kind of stuff. You should be able to have the right to do that on the street corner in a city, but I mean, they hate you for it. You can't even pray in front of an abortion clinic without thinking you're going to go to prison for it. One of the gentlemen that was in the chat earlier today, he's from Europe, and he had to quit his ex. He got taken off X because he said things that they didn't like, because they can arrest you in Europe if you say something they don't agree with. See, thank God we still have that right in America to say what we believe and what we think, and not because we're forcing our opinion, because I had the right to say it. That doesn't mean I have the right to force you to listen to me. If you don't want to listen, you can change the channel, because you live in America. You have the right to do that. And I want to keep that. I want you to have the right to watch whatever show you want on TV, and go and buy a pizza that has pineapple on it if you want, that kind of stuff. That's freedom. But to be able to do those things and us not fight for us to keep having that right, then we're going to lose. You think it can't happen to us? It can. And it is. It's happening right now in our country, where we're being invaded and they're taking our rights away one by one by one. Won't be long if we don't do something where they can just come in and take your kid from you and say, well, we decided that we don't think you're going to be good enough parents, that you're going to probably teach them things that we don't want them to know. So we're going to take your kids and we're going to raise them for you. or we're going to put you in prison if you don't let us do this, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what can possibly happen. I would never have thought that growing up, but I do now. I believe that, if we're not careful, we could lose our rights. We won't have the right to own our property. They'll come and take our property from us saying, oh, you have too much property. And we're going to put you in this little trailer on that half acre over there. And we're taking your other 4.5 acres and we're going to put other people on it because you have too much. See what I mean?
Well, we have seen parents, we have seen children taken away from their parents, generally over sexual orientation for children. And the idea that you don't want your child to be exposed to that.
Because you're religious.
Well, they need to be. Right.
Well, I can tell you right now, get online and look that up tomorrow when you get a chance. Look up and see how many Christians lost their kids because they didn't want their child to transition. Okay. Then look up how many Muslims lost their kids because they didn't want their kids to be transitions. There's 0 on one side of that issue.
Oh, I know.
So I'm just saying it's not balanced. They don't
it's
look
not
good at you depending on your religion. And that's scary. And this is America, So I don't know.
It comes back down to the accusation you're a racist. The only response to which today is, who cares? I don't. I'm basically following my conscience and what makes logical sense to me. And if that seems racist to you, well, that's a you problem.
Yep. That's how I am now.
Yeah. So it's really what it's coming down to. And
it's really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this next thing I want to bring up is about the Dominion voting systems uncovered in Michigan's election. This is another person that's going to give you a little insight. It's only a 2-minute video, but the thing is that it's finally being used in court and proven to be fact now. It's not just Giuliani or one other person saying it, the MyPillow guy, all the crazy people with all this fake rigmarole. It's finally coming out in court with facts. So now it can go to court and we should be able to do it if we can get non-corrupt courts, right? So that's another reason why they're dragging their feet. Some of these people are dragging their feet and voting alongside with Democrats because they don't want these things to go to court. And that's scary to me. We have got to fight to get the truth out. I don't care who gets arrested. If they were corrupt, I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're independent. I don't care if they're Democrat. If they were involved in taking away your vote and my vote from us that we had the right to have, they need to be punished for it, period. That's how I look at it. And I want to see everyone that was involved in any of this corruption, fraud when it comes to voting, or any of this other fraud that they're finding with Minnesota. I want to see all of them go to jail and be punished for their actions, period. Here we go. I'm going to share this video.
We've proved now that there was direct access to the Antrim County election management system because we show on November 5th, we can see it in the forensic images, that an anonymous user logged onto the EMS remotely with escalated privileges and made changes to the database when they were trying to retabulate the election. So that's one huge development. Because now we prove that the machines were remotely accessed, and more importantly, they were remotely accessed by an anonymous user who had elevated privileges in the system. That is pretty damning for the non-forensic reviewers out there, or people who do not want a forensic audit. And the other thing probably is equally explosive. Everyone's seen ballots before, like these ballots here. On the side of the ballot, there's these black boxes. There's 59 black boxes on the side of the ballot. We now see within the forensic images that in Antrim County, those blocks 15, 18, 28, 41, and 44 were all intentionally modified. The height and the width, the shape of those blocks were intentionally modified in order to generate errors. What does an error do? In this case, by modifying those specific blocks, they were able to cause rejections for Republican ballots. Meaning if you voted for Donald Trump and then put your ballot in the machine, your ballot was rejected at a rate of 20% more than Joe Biden ballots.
Interesting. Wow, they came up with some really unique ways of trying to rig it. You know what I mean? To not let your votes count.
They did. There was something, I think it was in Arizona, where not all the ballots were the standard size. Some of the ballots were printed at 80% scale, which changed the result, meaning it generated errors. Same thing. When you're working with an electronic, I mean, I have a very limited experience with optical character recognition from my software days. It's a very, very sensitive to changes in fonts, changes in letters, errors in letters, slight extensions, things like that. An A can be interpreted as a D if the A stem on the right side of the A goes too high. The OCR has to decide whether that's a letter A or a letter D. So it's very, very, you know, the thought is that oh, it's a machine read document, it's fine. No, a machine read document contains nothing but barcodes. That's machine coded.
Yeah.
That's what barcodes are for. They're for computers to read, not people to read. Characters, letters are for people to read. And there's an art to OCR, which is easily, essentially corrupted if you know what to do, if you know what to change. And, you know, the evidence against the Dominion voting machines has been piling up. Although very little of it has seen the light of day in court and been adjudicated, but in at least one case, I wish I could remember the exact details, a judge wanted a demonstration of how it would be possible to affect a Dominion voting machine that was not connected to the internet. And and a person was brought in, and the machine had a tabulation of votes on it already, which they'd gotten. They said, all right, I want you to change the result now. And in less than 5 minutes, with a pen, a ballpoint pen, the person who was providing the testimony flipped the election, basically using a pen on the Dominion machine. So the Dominion machines were built to cheat. They really
the people
were.
in Venezuela that testified that Venezuela made these machines to help them cheat so they could win these elections. So that's why I think they wanted them so bad, because they knew they worked. They could use them.
Yes.
So we just need to go back to paper ballots, period, and a pencil. Yes. That's all we need is pencils and paper ballots and people to count. No machines counting. Yeah, and IDs. But what I mean is for the people working in the polls, and if they have to, bring in colleges or high schools and let the students help, you know, with counting and whatever else, because they should all understand how the whole system works anyways. But the thing is, there's plenty of people to count ballots. And it shouldn't take weeks to count ballots. We have been having elections since the beginning of our country, and I've never heard of it. It just seems like after the hanging chads, ever since then, that's when I noticed we've seen more and more and more days drawing out, you know, and how long it takes to get everything all settled. And then it was bad. I mean, it's just gotten worse and worse. Now, not in every state, but you're going to have someone try to cheat, I think, in every single state. I'm not saying that every single state is corrupt. What I'm saying is you're going to have a guy or a woman that thinks they deserve it, do whatever they can to try to win, you know, and which is maybe pay people to go vote for them. That's cheating, you know, even though that's a real person going there to vote, but they paid them money and they put down whatever they asked them to do when they went to vote. So there's tons of that kind of stuff. It's going to always go on, I think. But to count the ballots and have people there to make sure that they're not by themselves with the ballots. There's so many procedures, as long as the people are made to follow it. And it's always, to me, it should always have cameras. Wherever there's ballots, things like that, there should always be cameras on 24 hours a day to see the ballots, period. Because that's
Agreed.
one deterrent. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not, when I go work the polls, I'm not worried about getting arrested because I don't go there to cheat. I'm going there to make sure other people get the right to vote. That's what I care about. And if we just had more people that cared about that, like me, I'm right now, I'm signed up for jury duty for a federal court in Arkansas. And if I get called, when I call the number and they say, you have to come on this day, I have to drive 88 miles just to go to court. And they'll pay me per mile. And they'll pay me $50 a day while I'm there. And if I do get chosen, they'll put me in a hotel because I live so far away. One way, that's a long ways to drive. So I'll have a little bag ready to go, you know, so I'll have a couple of shirts and stuff, wear the same jeans each day, but so that I can do my duty, because I pray, and I tell other people this, because everyone I told them, you know, hey, I got picked for jury duty, they go, oh, I can help you get out of it. You know, that's it. And I'm like, if you ever get accused of a crime, I hope that you get good people on your jury, that real people that want to be there because they want to help make sure the truth prevails. You know, I mean, maybe there's just few of us left, but that's how I believe, because it could be me. And I would want people that that actually give a shit about whether an innocent person is going to be convicted of a crime simply because they go, who cares? You know, you see what I mean?
Right.
Terrible attitude. Yes. I have a hard time with that. You know, my dad, I mean, he was just, you know, he was a military guy, and I believe in our country, and I would do whatever I can to be the best American that I could be. But, you know, maybe I'm a wimp. I don't know. But all I know is I love my country, and I believe in freedom, and I believe in the laws, okay, and people being, you know, proven innocent or guilty through our system, because I really do believe that we do have the best system there is and the best country. That's why we're the youngest country in the world, yet look how powerful we are. Why? Because we are free. You know what I mean? I do believe, I just really do believe that. And it may sound like a dumbass or whatever, but I can't help it. That's exactly how I feel. And I've said it multiple times, and that's exactly how I feel. But I want to share this next thing. We may have two little things left, and then we'll be finished for the night. But this is also about the whole thing with the ballots and stuff and the cheating. Before this comes on. Okay. He's talking about the Supreme Court victory. A SCOTUS ruled 7-2 that candidates have inherent standing to sue in federal court over the election rules. So I thought that was pretty good. Because, man, we've been waiting on the Supreme Court for a few things. It's just sad that we went. But that one thing I want to bring up, since I did this whole thing with the Supreme Court, is I'm really hoping that if they can prove that this election, that Biden should never have been president, that it was fraud to get him in, then I hope that they take out his appointed Supreme Court judge, because that person should not be a judge, because they were placed there simply because of cheating. You know what I mean? And I hope that person's revoked, because this person I don't agree with anyways, simply because when they asked her, what's a woman? She's supposedly a woman herself, and she couldn't even say, I'm a woman. Woman is a
she refused. She refused it. Yeah, she refused to answer the question.
I know, but how can you refuse a question like that when you're a Supreme Court judge? You're supposed to uphold the Constitution. I'm sorry, I don't
Well,
have faith in this person.
That's if you're an honest jurist.
Well, I
Which
don't have
she
faith in her.
obviously isn't.
And
No, I don't
I'm
either.
thinking about the future of our country, not just me. I'm thinking about all the kids that aren't even born yet. What is she going to do on this court that's going to hurt children that haven't even been born yet? That's what scares me about it. And I pray that when this all comes out, that every single thing he did, just like what Trump was saying about the auto pen, right? And he wrote that executive order saying that he was undoing everything that was done with the auto pen, that type of thing, which is great. I think it should be done that way. And that's why I believe what Trump does when he has his desk and he has the people around and he has the reporters and stuff, and he's doing an executive order, every one of them should be signed like that. Not one executive order should ever be signed with no one in the room.
Agreed.
There should always be cameras in there. There should not be, it should be transparent. So you and I, as a voter, should see every single executive order that's ever signed. We should have the right to flip through videos or whatever and find the one we want to see him signing. I think, or her signing, depending on whoever the president is. I think we, as the United States citizen, should have the right to see that if we want to. It should be public office, period. Then you don't have this shit. You know what I mean? We don't have some of this shit happening if we had those rights. But this right here, I think is really good. And I like Tom Fenton. So here we go. Let me start it again.
Everyone, the Supreme Court just announced today would take up an election law related challenge filed by Judicial Watch in Illinois on behalf of a congressman and electors in Illinois concerned about the counting of ballots that arrive after Election Day, which they do for 2 weeks after Election Day in Illinois. That means ballots arrive up to 2 weeks past Election Day and they still get counted, which is contrary to federal law, which states an Election Day, not an election week. Now, the congressman, federal candidate, obviously has standing to challenge such a law, but the two lower courts decided no, he doesn't have standing. They were divided, but the Supreme Court wants to settle this issue, and they decided to take up this massive Judicial Watch case. It's historically important that the rule of law be vindicated on election integrity. So this is a big step, and the court will hear our case next term.
Awesome. Yeah. One of the things I wanted to say about this whole thing with these, this whole thing with all the election fraud and then trying to go to court about with it. Because remember, we were talking about earlier about Giuliani and a few other people, the My Pillow guy, Lindell, and a few others that were going to court with stacks of information that they've collected with people that took oath and swore to tell the truth and talked about what they saw when they worked and what they thought was corruption and things that people cheating or whatever. Isn't there a woman right now that's in Arizona in jail, or is it in Colorado? The woman who was trying to show. Okay, yeah. Okay, she's in jail because she spoke out. You see, in our country, in America. Okay, but what I was thinking is like almost every election fraud lawsuit was dismissed in 2020 by corrupt judges. Okay, and saying that they lacked standing or whatever their excuse was for it. So none of the evidence.
Standing.
Yeah.
The big one was standing, yes. Which is why this is such a big deal for the Supreme Court to decide that a candidate has standing to contest election rules.
That is why this really is important. And I'm thankful for people like Tom Fenton to keep fighting for this. Even after all this time, people are still wanting to deny that it happened. It even happened at all. And I'm just thankful because there's enough evidence to take to a court to prove your case, and they don't even see it simply because they don't want to see it, not because we didn't have the right to bring it up there. It's the fact that they didn't want to see it, so they just said, you're a plebe, we could care less. That's not the way our country is supposed to work. It doesn't matter whether you're covered head to toe with dirt because you're working in your fields, because you're poor, and that's the only way you can grow your own food. And then you got a person over here that has a real nice suit and tie, and they're able to just say, no, I don't want that person in my courthouse. That's bullshit. That isn't how our country was set up. We're supposed to be equal in the eyes of the law, and it's supposed to be the judge that sits and looks at what you're presenting and whether you have to have a jury or not to judge your case with the evidence, not because that person looks like this and that person looks like that, or they're a Republican or they're a Democrat. None of that's supposed to matter. It's supposed to go on the facts. That's how we're supposed to do things in this country. And I pray that with all the things that's been going on, that someday we're going to get back to being able to be a country of laws and not a bunch of men just doing whatever they want. You know what I mean? So I hope that we get that. But thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. And I know I talk my head off. I can't help it. I get so emotional about a lot of it because it's, to me, I don't think I'm really smart, but I'm willing to listen to see this and that. Like when we watched earlier about the man that was getting in his face and his temperature was rising and he was getting to be more combative and stuff, even though no one ever said anything to him about it. And nobody talked to him, said anything. Well, what religion are you? Or nothing. Yet he started screaming and yelling at the guy, and his bodyguard to keep saying, get back, get away from him. Thank God for those bodyguards. That's all I could say.
Yes.
But hopefully within the next month, I think it's going to be less than a month, but within the month, we're going to start seeing something happening with some of this stuff. Now, the chaos going on right now in some of these states over this fraud with the Somali stuff, I think that is trying to deflect some of the other things that are going on. And at least I hope that I'm right about that. But this right here, now that they have this ruling, I think it's going to things are going to start moving a little faster because I can't use that anymore. And when each time a little crack happens, it's getting weaker. You know what I mean? Their story and their standing that they've been standing on and pointing at you and I is breaking. Their wall's about to collapse, and we're all going to rush in. So that's what I'm hoping. So we'll see. We'll find out. But I want to say thank you so much for helping me, and I hope you'll join me again. I really, really, I really do, because I really like having someone to bounce off of.
I appreciate the invite, and I'm sure we'll do it again.
Well, I would love to have you again. I can tell you that. I've wanted you to come on a few times, and things just never worked out. But hopefully you'll join me again, and we can talk about more stuff like this, because this is what I really love to talk about. I don't know why. My sisters hate it, but I love it. So you guys have a wonderful night, and I hope to see all of you for the Friday Night Shit Show. It's going to be, we won't be talking about this stuff. That's why I did it on Thursday night, because we'll be talking about all the other shit that's going on in our country. But I just want to say thank you, everyone, and hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye.